I'm Nolan Beilstein, and welcome to another episode of Gen Z in Manufacturing, a podcast where I interview young people about their journeys in manufacturing, how they intend to influence the industry, and what they are looking for from an employer. For this episode, I welcome Will Stewart, a 25-year-old licensed accelerate electrician level 2 at Faith Technologies Incorporated. Stewart is a licensed journeyman in Wisconsin and a graduate of FTI's apprenticeship program. At the FTI Accelerate facility, Stewart is responsible for electrical assemblies and installations, troubleshooting, and maintenance. Some of his additional key responsibilities include maintaining current licensing and training requirements, ensuring projects are built to specifications, following workplace safety procedures, and leading a crew effectively. He also mentors and develops others and participates in hiring referrals. Before we hear from Stewart, please make sure to like and share this episode of Gen Z in Manufacturing. To view previous episodes, visit manufacturing.net. If you are a member of Gen Z and would like to discuss your experience in the manufacturing industry, please get in touch with me, Nolan Beilstein, at nolan@in.com. All right, well, thanks for joining Gen Z in Manufacturing. The question I wanted to open up with was, how did you find FTI's apprenticeship program?
So I found out about Faith Technologies because right out of high school, I started working for a guy who left Faith to start his own thing. And when he came back, I kind of joined him in that. So when I got hired on, I was a helper for 6 months, and then I was selected to join the apprenticeship.
I know you mentioned it a little bit earlier, but what about the program made you want to stay with the company full time?
The reason that I believe Faith was the right opportunity for me was just that there's so much growth and opportunity inside the company, that as well as, the benefits and retirement and all that kind of stuff kind of led me to wanting to stay.
As you talk to peers that have gone into similar industries, electrical, manufacturing, what criticisms have you heard from them about issues with their apprenticeships?
I think one thing that I've heard is that it's a little bit longer of an apprenticeship in different companies or through the state. With FTI's, at least, well, more or less when I went through it, you could kind of go at your own pace. I've been out of the apprenticeship now for a few years because when I did it, I was through the COVID timeline, so it was a little different. I'm trying to think of how it is now, how different, but...
Do you think that COVID changed how electrical manufacturing companies handle apprenticeships?
I think it did, because I was very strictly online for my apprenticeship. And I think what we've learned from that is that having it in person, being taught from your instructor in the same classroom, creates more engagement and kind of leads to a more fulfilling apprenticeship.
What does your workday typically look like?
My typical workday, at least on the current project I'm on now, involves a lot of wire pulling, a lot of terminating, minimal conduit running, and then there's a task called lashing. It kind of, with rope, you kind of just organize your termination with your different wires to keep them stable. Teaching our apprentices new ways to do things and answering their questions, as well as just being available to help out.
Yeah, you just mentioned that one of your responsibilities is to mentor and develop other workers. So as you mentor Gen Z aged workers, what have you learned about them and yourself in regards to how that age group approaches a job?
With every apprentice that I've worked with, they all seem to be very excited to learn. They do ask a lot of questions, which only helps the team, because the more knowledgeable they are, the stronger we'll be. It just kind of proves that they're just searching for opportunities. So and I enjoy teaching and, helping them out. I get a lot of fulfillment from that.
Whenever you're teaching Gen Z age workers, do you ever notice a point where you lose them and you have to try to get their attention back? What is that like, and how do you solve that?
I think the only time that I will lose somebody is if they're not willing to be receptive, as if they almost have their answer made up that they've come up on their own. So I think it just comes down to individuals, like who who's here to learn and who's here just to kind of get by.
I mean, that's kind of a common perception of the older generations for Gen Z is like they don't want to listen to the experienced workers. They got their own mind made up. Do you think is that how most Gen Z behaves in the professional workspace?
I don't believe that's how most Gen Z people act. I think there's always going to be some people that will prove the stereotypes true, but at least here in Accelerate, I think we have a great group of young people who are trying to better themselves and are willing to receive the criticism necessary to grow.
Do you ever notice them having kind of like an aha moment where it really connects and resonates with them? What are you talking about what really resonates with them? What gets them excited about their work?
I think when they have these aha moments, I think it's when they've been tackling a new task and they're just having a hard time. But as they continue to approach the task with different creative looks, eventually some things do break through. And I think it's seeing their hard work and their problem solving skills go hand in hand is when they finally get the final product where they can see what they've put in and what they're getting out.
I think there's been a couple people that have been on this series where they say that manufacturers need to let the workers see the end product because they're just not connecting with what they're doing as a whole, and they just identify themselves as a single cog in a machine. I mean, what do you think about that take? Is that a necessary thing to keep people engaged in work?
Yeah, I think that's super necessary. The nice thing about Accelerate is we kind of have like a hybrid of manufacturing as well as the electrical trade. So as a project begins, we kind of have a blank canvas. And then as we, install the gear, install the raceways, and then as we're pulling the wire and hanging other devices, you can kind of slowly see that skid turn from nothing to something. And I think that's really rewarding.
What is the age range of the crew that you lead?
I say we have, at one point we had a high school apprentice, so that's 16. We're pretty heavy in the early 20s, and then a few guys in their 30s, and then our oldest team member, he's actually in his 60s, so we kind of cover a wide array of ages.
What kind of difference do you notice between the older and younger generations regarding how they work?
I would say with our older workers, they've been doing this for a long time. They definitely know what's expected of them, and they're pretty well seasoned in the trade. So they just know what comes next. And with their younger workers, it's just there's just so much training that goes into the beginning. So they just sometimes might not know what's next. So it's just encouraging them and keeping them on task.
So you said you've got someone in their 60s that you're working with in training. Did I hear that right?
Yeah.
So how does that dynamic work? They've got a 20-something-year-old teaching them. Are they receptive to that, or do they kind of give you like aren't you a little young to be doing this?
I guess in my my scenario, our guy, he was an electrician in the field for 27 years. So more often than not, he'd be teaching me just tricks of the trade. But as far as, when delegating his task or getting him set up on his work, I've never had an issue with this person. So I enjoy it working with him.
Have you ever heard stories from any of your friends about older and younger generations clashing in the workplace with just ideas or how they approach a job?
Yeah, I've heard that. I've been a part of it a little myself, but I think the one, I guess looking back at my own experiences, is that when coming up with ideas, I can be really honed in on just one specific part of the project and not the whole thing. So I think it's just more of kind of taking a step back and listening first to the older generation, just because they do have all the skills and all the knowledge that us younger people need to kind of latch onto before they're gone.
And then what can the older workers learn from Gen Z?
I think one thing they could learn is just to be kind of more receptive of the energy and the eagerness to learn. Because I think sometimes they may forget that this is our first day or the beginning of our career. So we're pretty excited to take it on and just kind of enjoying, I don't know, I guess you could almost say, let us take them back to when they were young and try to bring them back.
What aspects of FTI do you think really attract Gen Z aged talent?
I think the biggest thing right now that FTI is doing is this culture of care movement. And as well, I mean, I guess the big thing about it is letting us know that it's okay not to be okay, and that we have help here for people. And then they also do a wonderful thing. It's called time to recharge. So 2 hours every month, we're allowed to use that hours as vacation. So it's nice to, get away on whatever day that you need just to kind of reboot.
Do you get the sense that a lot of other companies in this industry are following suit with that kind of mindset, or is that pretty innovative?
I guess not knowing too much of what other manufacturing places are doing. I think as I know of right now is that this is kind of a unique FTI thing that only we're doing right now.
How high do you think Gen Z's interest is in the electrical sector currently?
Well, with my experience with when I was going through high school, college was the major thing that was pushed by guidance counselors and teachers and stuff. So I think just out of my class alone, I think there's only a few other people that kind of went the route that I did. But I think going forward, I think if we can get the message out about how beneficial it is to join a trade or join an industry like we have now, that I think we might see that tide shift towards coming back to this market.
How can the employers push that route? I mean, I don't know if you can always rely on like the education system. Like you said, they push college a lot. So how can employers help out with that?
I think the biggest thing would be kind of just advertising that work-life balance. I think that's what a lot of people my age are looking for. In FTI's case with our apprenticeship program, I mean, kind of you get paid to go to school. So I think that can be rather incentivizing. And then I think just the ability to kind of just grow inside the company. You can start here, but you can make as many lateral moves and forward moves as you want to try to figure out what exactly you enjoy doing.
Thank you for watching this episode of Gen Z in Manufacturing. Please make sure to like and share the episode. To view previous episodes, visit manufacturing.net. If you are a member of Gen Z and would like to discuss your experience in the manufacturing industry, please contact Nolan Beilstein at nolan@ien.com.